We're going to go to April for your next question on the other side of the room.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. My name is Tiara Washington, and I'm from Washington, D.C., and I'm a student at Montgomery College in Tacoma Park, Maryland. I have a pretty personal story for you. Growing up, I was a victim of domestic violence, and even though there were physical and emotional signs of abuse, none of my teachers ever reached out and questioned if I was okay. Aside from that, after graduating from high school and entering college, I realized that the DC public school system didn't properly prepare me for college-level coursework. And on top of that, I got into the school of my dreams, but I couldn't afford to stay there. My question is, what is your administration planning to do to improve comprehensive primary education and address college affordability?
Well, first of all, I can tell that you have just been working so hard to overcome all these disadvantages. And so I just want to say how proud I am of you. And we're going to get you back into school if you're not in school right now. There's no reason why you shouldn't be able to afford to go to college. There are two steps in terms of education. And keep in mind that what has made America the wealthiest, most successful country on earth historically has been our commitment to education. We started the public school system very early in the century, and as a consequence, we had more skilled workers than any nation on earth, which meant that we were more productive than any nation on earth. We then made a commitment, particularly after World War II, with the GI Bill to massively expand our commitment to college education, and that meant we had more engineers and we had more scientists, and that meant we had better technology, which meant that we were more productive and we could succeed in the global marketplace. And what's happened in a generation is that our lead has slipped. We're now we rank 21st when it comes to math education. We rank 25th when it comes to science. We used to be #1 in the proportion of college graduates. We now rank 9th. And at an age where knowledge, skills are the determinant of how successful we're going to be, unless we reverse that, we're going to keep slipping behind economically to a lot of other countries. I mean, China's not playing for second place. Germany, South Korea, these are all countries that are investing massively in education. We've got to do the same thing. Now, it's not just a matter of money, it's also a matter of reform. So what we've done is, at the K through 12 level, the most important thing we can do is to make sure that we've got very high standards, we expect a lot out of all of our young people, and we make sure that we have the best teachers possible in every classroom. And so we're working with states all across the country to invest in talented young people like some of you going into the teaching profession, getting the best professional skills possible. We want every math teacher to know math. We want every science teacher to have expertise in science. We want them to know how to inspire and engage young people. And so we're working to create an atmosphere where the best and the brightest are going into teaching. Teachers are getting paid well. They have freedom within the classroom to do creative things, but they're also held accountable. And through something called Race to the Top, we've been inspiring reforms all across the country, using relatively little amounts of money, but we give them an incentive. We say, if you want some additional money for your school, we'll give it to you, but you've got to compete. Show us that you're going to reform your education system so that our children are performing better. Now, that's at the K through 12 level. We're also emphasizing, by the way, math and science education, especially for women, young girls, and for minorities who oftentimes underperform in those fields. And we want to generate more math and science teachers, and we're getting the private sector to help us by paying for the training and the scholarships for more math and science teachers. Now, at the college level, this is something that many of you may not be aware of. So relative to the earlier question about what our Recovery Act did, part of the Recovery Act was to institute an American Opportunity Tax Credit that has benefited 12 million young people across the country. It gives an enormous tax break to those of you who are going to college. On average, folks save about over $1,000 a year using this tax credit. We've combined that with doubling the Pell Grant program, part of what was happening before we passed some of this legislation was that the student loan program, which many of you may have used, was going through banks or financial intermediaries. And so they were siphoning off billions of dollars of profits before the loan went to the student. But the problem was these loans were guaranteed by the federal government, so they weren't taking any risk. It was an unwarranted subsidy. We said, let's just make these loans directly to students. That way we saved about $40 billion that is now going into the expansion of loan programs, grant programs. And the final thing we did is that in a couple of years, we've set up a system whereby when you take on college debt, you will never have to pay more than 10% of your income in repayments. And what that will do is make sure that you will never be prevented from going to school just because of money. We want to make sure that you and others like you can succeed.
Thank you, Mr. President.